Okay, so now it's time for our featured speaker, and Kevin Yates. You know we have a tradition here at the GNA, right?
We have a tradition? Yes, we do.
What's that tradition, Kevin?
This is where I get kicked out.
That's right. We kick our speaker out, but more professionally, we send our featured speaker all the way to the back.
Yep, got it.
Why do we do that, Kevin?
You know, honestly, I never knew why. I just know that that's the tradition. You asked if there's a tradition, I know, and I said yes, but I never knew why.
He's just a really humble guy, Kevin Yates. Give Kevin a big round of applause for being humble. The reason why we do that, Kevin, is that way our featured speaker can make that grand entrance, right?
All right.
So Kevin Yates, go ahead and get on out of here. Okay, so today our featured speaker is Kevin Yates. And he is the owner of Yates Performance Training, and he's also a co-ambassador for our Modesto weekly GNA chapter here, and a fantastic member, just a great all-around type of guy. And today, he's going to be talking about 7 steps to reignite your metabolism, energy, and health. Pretty interesting, right? Now, and Kevin is a local homegrown fitness expert. Been doing it for 13 years now, you said, right, Kevin?
Just about.
Okay. And he's not in network marketing. I mean, there are some really good network marketing companies out there that, you know, do health and wellness, but Kevin stands out on his own. He has his own mission and his own words to share with us here today, and his own methods. And let me just read a little brief bio on Kevin here really quickly. Okay, let's scroll down here. So Kevin Yates is a holistic lifestyle coach, international speaker, author, and regarded by many as the leading fat loss and performance training expert in San Joaquin County. For over 12 years now, he specialized in helping fitness enthusiasts achieve higher levels of fitness and performance. He knows what it's like to be overweight, out of shape, and dealing with a growing list of nagging injuries because that's how life used to be for him. Having been an avid baseball player and very athletic practically all his life, this was devastating for him. In an effort to get back in shape, Kevin felt he needed to lose the 36 pounds he had packed on after getting married and working full-time. Marriage can do that to you, right, Kevin?
Hey, now.
Hey, I know your wife. She's a very nice lady. I know Veronica. She's great. Thank you. I don't want her to beat me up. Okay. He tried everything from working out 6 days a week for 90 minutes a day, doing weight training, cardio, to strict dieting. This ultimately led Kevin to develop his own unique performance-based training system called the Yates Performance Training Method. Trademarked. Excellent. And building his group personal training business in Tracy, California called Yates Performance Training Academy. 12 years later, he's considered by many as San Joaquin's leading fat loss and performance training expert. Kevin has been interviewed by top experts in the fitness industry. He's even trained as far as Istanbul and Ankara, Turkey, to coach 51 fitness professionals and coaches. Wow, you've gone a long way, huh, Kevin?
That was fun.
Wow, sounds great. Kevin created an outline program called the Muscle Inbalance Solution that fitness professionals, psychotherapists, and doctors all over the world have used. He has been a featured presenter for an online fitness education program that's been used by over 2,000 fitness professionals and exercise enthusiasts worldwide. Kevin is also the author of the book, The Stress-Free Diet. So, on that note, please welcome Kevin Yates! Big round of applause! Kevin, I give you the keys.
Oh boy, I hope I can figure out how to run it.
Now, Kevin, all you gotta do is, you wanna point, that's forward, that's back. You're all set, it's all yours, buddy.
Why, thank you. Well, you just said the whole presentation, so I think we're good now today.
There you go. Well, that was a brief bio of you.
Right. Very brief. Anyways, thank you very much. So I'm glad that you guys are here, and I'm happy to be here. It's been a while since I got to come back and present on the topic. And one of the things I was thinking about when I was going to present this was, you know, basically we're here for like a business meeting. How can we help each other move our businesses forward? And if you're looking at this going, well, this might be great, but what in the hell does this have to do with my business? Health and fitness, weight loss. Well, the way that I look at it, because I worked for over almost 13 years now, and you know, most of the clients that I have are either they've been business owners, they've been high-level corporate executives, those who work very long hours, have very highly stressful jobs, and as well-intended as it is for us, we tend to put the one thing we put on the back burner. We get so busy with building our business, getting more clients, improving our product services, dealing with staffs, travel, business meetings, deadlines, whatever. On top of that, we have our family obligations to get through, and everything that gets put on the back burner has to do with our health and fitness. We'll get to that when my presentation's done, when I meet my deadline, when my family life settles down, when I get back from vacation. Right? It's always kind of well-intended, but it gets put on the back burner. And the thing we have to think about is, if I don't have my health and my fitness, what's that going to do to my business then? Because if something were to happen to you, then what would happen to your family? What would happen to your business? What would happen to your income? And so this is kind of one of the things that I like to just kind of bring it back up, and at least, if anything, put it back into the front of our minds that before something happens, let's take care of the things that we can take care of. And what it'll do is it'll actually make you more effective in your business, on your job, right? Because when you're feeling good and you're moving better, you've got more energy, you think better, you focus better, you're more productive, you have less stress, and it spills over to every other area of your life. Right? Your confidence is better, your relationships become better, which is huge because this is all about relationship building. And if I don't feel real good, and I'm not thinking good, and I'm foggy brained, and I'm have too much weight on me, and I'm dealing with nagging aches and pains all the time, and I'm meeting you, hi, how are you, and I'm just not feeling really good, I'm probably not going to be doing too well in building relationships and building a business. So that's kind of the underlying reason why I'm bringing this here. So what I wanted to do was, what I didn't want to do is just bring another diet and exercise program into here, because let's face it, there's so much solutions that are out there with diet and exercise, and you don't need me to tell you that. You can get on Google and Google it, because I've done it when I was writing my book, and if you just Google the term weight loss or even fat loss, you're going to get at least, at last count, that I had over 300 million results coming back. So it's not, the reason why we're not achieving our weight loss goals, our performance goals, whatever it is, or overcoming these injuries with our exercise methods, it's not because of shortage of solutions. We have them. But what we don't have is a way to take the information that we've got out there and put it into an application, a step-by-step method for how to use it. People have so much information, they're drowning in it, but they have very little knowledge of how to take it and use it to make their own dreams come true, basically. So that's what I'm putting together here. So I put it in 7 steps. 7 steps to reignite your metabolism, your health, your energy, and performance, if you guys are into that end of things, recreational sports or whatever it might be, just to have a better life. I put it into 7 steps, so this is not a sales pitch for anything. It's just information I wanted you to come away with today and be able to go, you know what, I can use that now, and I have much more clarity on how to get from where I am to where I want to be. So that's what I'm going to share with you guys today here. So, Elias told you all about how wonderful I am, and thank you very much for that. Anyway, so we know a little bit about who I am, but just some other things I got to do. I did get to travel a little bit, and that's some of the other stuff I do. So it's not just personal training that I do. I really look at myself as somebody who helps empower people through education. I don't just like telling people what to do, but I like to clear up a lot of the facts and the myths surrounding health, fitness, weight loss, all those things that we're into. Because there's a lot of good information, but there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. So one of the things that I also do is I help companies, businesses, organizations. I got to go to Istanbul, Turkey, and share some of my methods with 51 fitness professionals, athletic coaches out there, and trainers across 2 cities out there. I've also worked, this was Taylor Farms over there in Tracy. I worked with 40 of their employees and did a 3-month wellness weight loss program for them. And it had some really, really good results. So, and the last that I can recall, and the only one out here that actually guarantees results with the programs that I do. So I've gotten a little bit, on the health clubs. I recently put out a press release just saying, look, I'm sick and tired of people not getting results. 97% of people by the end of January, you know that they have all their New Year's resolutions and everything, 97% of people fail. And of that 97%, about 90% by the end of January are going to quit right there. And the health clubs, you can go to the gyms and use their facility, but how many of them really call you, really care after they sign you up about how well you're doing and how those results are coming along? And how many of them that would back it up and say, you know what, we'll guarantee you results? None of them will. I will. So I do that. Okay, so 7 steps. A little bit back about me really, really quickly, and then I'm going to be all done with how wonderful I am and all that stuff. Because when I talk about health and fitness, and then my clients over the years most of them never believed me when I told them anyway, because I would talk about things. They go, well, you don't know what it's like to be overweight because you've never had a weight problem. You work out all the time, you're fit, you're this, you're that. And I told them I'm every bit as human as you are, and I did have a weight problem. I did in year 1998. I came back home from college, and I was skinny all my life. I mean, I was blessed with the fastest metabolism. I was always involved in athletics. I played baseball all my life. And I could eat anything I wanted. And I went to college and lived a college life of working full-time, going to school full-time. I didn't know how to cook too well since I moved away from mom and dad's house. And what happened was I was eating out a lot and eating a lot of junk food. And before I knew it, I came home and I was 36 pounds heavier. And it wasn't just the weight that was the problem. That was the first issue. It was what went with it. Because along the way with that, I had seriously high blood pressure. It was dangerously high. I had a list of injuries from head to toe that was just, it was so baffling to me. I didn't know how I got them. My energy levels were horrible, and of course my confidence was shot. My relationships in my life were suffering. My wife at the time, we weren't married, but things were struggling with that. People I knew, I just didn't get along well with people, and I didn't think very well. I had anxiety and depression and all this stuff going on. So I came back home, and it took me a long time, but I stumbled into personal training. I really came back from college, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I stumbled online. I was researching some things and then got into personal training, and I did like working out. So long story short, that's what I got into doing. And a lot of what I had to learn, though, I didn't learn a lot about losing weight, and especially with the injuries and all that stuff happening, about how to deal with all of that. They didn't really teach you that kind of stuff. And what was happening, I got into the industry, and I was working on myself, and then I was working with clients, and a lot of the clients I was getting, they had the injuries. So I couldn't just train them to lose weight because they had knee problems or back problems or shoulder problems. A lot of them wanted to get back into running or playing tennis or doing marathons, and they couldn't. So I had to learn how to do it. So I got involved in physical therapy and spent 3 years learning all that, and basically through it all, ended up developing a method that I now have just kind of refined to help people achieve those goals. So that's just a little bit of my background, long bit I guess, that I got into. So anyway, the 7 steps I'll get right into. I have a lot to cover, so this is going to be like no fluff in this stuff, and this is going to be a little bit about diet and exercise, but a lot of the factors that are beyond diet and exercise that we do not learn. Every workout program, every dietitian, doctor, fitness professional, diet books out there, they preach the same thing. It's either diet and or exercise, but nobody's really telling you the truth about how the other factors, these underlying factors that I'm going to tell you about today, are really keeping you from having the body, the energy, and the health that you want. They really are. So when you follow these 7 steps, you can implement them any way you want. You can do 1 step at a time. If you're the type that can go gung-ho and put them all in, then great. The more you put in, the better. They're going to be very clear and straightforward, though, into how you can use them. So the first step, number 1, is it's just about training for performance. And what I mean with that, don't get me wrong, I don't think that every single person needs to train at the level of an Olympic athlete. You don't need to run like a 400-meter dash any faster or have a 36-inch vertical jump. But everybody has a certain level of performance that we do need. Right? It's kind of like we're all athletes in a way, but we participate in different sports. Some of us just participate in the sport of life. And when we're training for performance, it really means that if you look at most of the gyms and most of the training programs out there, there's so much that's just involved in making all these machines these days that they're all high-tech and they all have the latest, they're most comfortable and safe and all of this, but our bodies are not designed to work as isolated, in isolated body parts, isolated movements. We have machines that'll train our biceps, our triceps, our thighs, and all of these things, and they're supposed to create safety, but the problem is if you think about most movements that you perform every single day, moving around the house, pick up a laundry basket, get groceries in and out of the car, when you're walking up and down stairs, getting in and out of the car, running, whatever you do, there's nothing that you do that's in isolation. And what happens if you sit on those machines all the time, they provide a kind of a psychological feeling of safety, and you're feeling certain muscles work, but what's happening is over time you're detraining your body. Your body's forgetting how it has to work together because all those muscles and all those movements you do, from upper body to lower body and all throughout your core, are connected and they all have a job to do. So they have to work together. So part of it is really, your body is not meant to function on a machine. So training for performance is one, getting out of the machines and training in an environment that your body's designed to perform in. And secondly, when it comes to things like weight loss, we want to tone up, lose body fat, whatever it might be, you are never going to get there if you don't challenge yourself to perform at some level beyond what your body can do already. What that means is that whatever it is, it doesn't mean, again, that you have to be totally athletic and do vertical jumps or sprints, but what level do you perform at? When you're in the gym, if you're on a certain exercise, what can you do? If I can squat 10 times with, 50 pounds on my back, and I keep doing that same exercise with the same weight, with the same reps all the time, my body gets used to it. And most people get in it, we're creatures of habit. We get into these routines where we're doing kind of the same old, but we're never pushing our bodies outside of what they're capable of performing. And so our bodies refuse to change. Case in point, look at most people around the gyms. Look at most people doing, we'll talk about it in a little while, cardio. And look at, anytime you go to a gym, the most popular area in there, how many of them on those cardio machines do you see that significantly change their body in the last 3, 6 months, maybe the last year that you've seen them? Almost none. Because they do the same old. They never challenge their bodies beyond what they're able to do. So step number 2, and this is a big one. Again, everything that we hear about is diet and exercise. But a lot of what we hear about too, and it drives me up the wall because it's always this thing about calories in versus calories out. We're so calorie conscious nowadays, and what nobody's telling you is that in the end, it's not the calories that are determining what you look like, what you feel like, and how you perform. In other words, when you're putting on body fat or gaining weight or you can't lose it, it's actually not related so much to the calories. In the end, it's the hormones in your body that are dictating what's happening with you. And I'll explain exactly how it's happening. So there's 6 key hormones that you just want to keep in mind. This isn't going to be in-depth scientific talk or anything, but just basically kind of keep these in mind because they all are separate hormones, yet they all function together. So we've got cortisol. Why is cortisol important? You guys have heard of cortisol? What have you heard it referred to as?
I heard it's a diet pill or something.
Cortisol?
Something like that, yeah.
Belly fat?
Yeah.
Yeah, belly fat, yeah.
The stress hormone,
Yeah.
right? And there's been products made, cortisol lowering products and all that.
Yeah.
Cortisol is huge, and especially, I've noticed it even with like business owners or people, if we're looking at, we're working long hours on the job. Why? Because cortisol responds to stress. So when you have very high levels of stress, and this isn't even just like workout stuff, this is just if I'm financially stressed, if I'm have a fight with a friend or a loved one, if I'm worried about getting my work done to meet the deadline on my job, if I'm worried about making my mortgage payment for the month, guess what? Those are all stressors, and the more of them I have, the higher my cortisol level goes. And cortisol, like you said, it promotes fat storage, particularly belly fat. So here's the other thing, testosterone and growth hormone, those two go together because they work together. Those two are very important hormones because how many of you have made New Year's resolutions to lose weight already? Anybody this year? Right? When you lose weight, you want to tone up too, right? So that has to do with not only just losing weight, but losing body fat. You want to tone up and look shapely and look fit. Testosterone and growth hormone have a lot to do with fat burning, your ability to burn fat. But those two hormones, testosterone and growth hormone, when your cortisol levels are up high, it suppresses your ability to burn fat. So testosterone and growth hormone gets suppressed. So everything you're trying to do with your diet and with your exercises is actually pretty useless if you're overstressed with super high cortisol levels because your ability to burn fat is plummeting. Then what happens is we've got, well, let's look at thyroid. We know what thyroid is. It regulates your metabolism, basically. So what happens when growth hormone and testosterone, and those two, by the way, also have to do with your ability to either build or maintain muscle. Now, a lot of people freak out, especially women, when I bring up the topic of muscle. They have this image of like these WWE wrestlers or bodybuilders. Oh my God, I don't want to look like that. I tell them, look, number one, your body doesn't produce, most of us, our bodies don't produce enough testosterone or growth hormone to ever look like that, even if we wanted to. And about 99.9% of people cannot ever get to that level of development even if they wanted to. 1, because they don't have the hormones to do it. 2, because they don't take the anabolic drugs to do it. And 3, even if they had all of that, they don't even have the time to do it. But what muscle does is the more muscle that you have, the more calories you burn, the more fat you burn. Right? So it's a metabolic enhancer. And when you're suppressing testosterone, the growth hormone, and you got high cortisol levels, you know what starts to happen to your muscle? Your body starts to break it down. So the more that you're breaking down of the muscle that you've got, the slower your metabolism is going to become, which means it's going to be a lot easier for you to gain weight and a lot harder to lose it. So what happens is now we've got thyroid, right? So thyroid hormone, again, when all of this is going on, cortisol up, testosterone, growth hormone are down, your thyroid gets suppressed as well. Your estrogen levels go up. And also you have insulin. That's a key player in there as well. So you'll have an imbalance with insulin as well, and insulin will just, it's basically designed to metabolize nutrients in your body, particularly, we know, like carbohydrates, right, blood sugar. Well, what happens is with that cortisol response going crazy, your body, it'll trigger your liver to release glycogen, which is just stored carbohydrates for energy. And then what has to happen is your body has to then start producing insulin to metabolize it all. And so insulin's kind of the key guy there. That's where all this low-carb diets and stuff come in, because when you have too much insulin going on, it also suppresses your ability to lose fat. So basically what I'm telling you is that these 6 hormones, you can't affect one without affecting them all, because they're all related. And I just showed you how they're related. But also, no matter how many calories you're eating or not eating, you're trying to pull them out of your diet or whatever, how well do you think you're going to be able to lose weight or burn body fat if you've got all of these hormones all out of whack? Your cortisol levels are sky high, your fat burning hormones are very suppressed, your thyroid's suppressed, your estrogen's high, and your insulin's out of whack. It's not going to matter how many calories you eat. So balancing the hormones, those 6 hormones are key. And I'll get into a simple way that you can do that. So number 3, the one thing I've been talking about is stress, and stress is huge. It's so important. That's why I wrote a book about it, because I just couldn't get it across to enough people, because we're on the go all the time. From the time we get up in the morning until our head hits the pillow at night, we're bombarded with stress, and we almost become desensitized to it over time, right? We just kind of think it's just part of the territory. It's part of how life is. And a lot of the times, we know when we're stressed out. You know what it feels like when you get around somebody who gets on your nerves, or when you're feeling under the pressure of having deadlines to meet, or you have bills to pay. We know what that feels like, but there's a lot of stressors that I'm going to show you in a minute that are kind of hidden. We don't really understand what they are or how they're affecting your ability to lose weight, to get the body you want, tone up, whatever it is, get yourself feeling, looking, and performing better. So keeping stress levels is in check. And this was another thing I noticed, was there's a lot of talk about it, about, okay, we do want to minimize stress, but nobody's really telling you how do you do it. How do I minimize stress when I've got to work 50 hours a week, when I'm juggling a family life and a work life, and I've got projects and deadlines and travel and business meetings and all this stuff going on? How do I reduce it? You tell me. So that's the big thing. Nobody's telling you how to do it. So one of the things we're going to look at, I boiled stress down. There's so many different kinds of it, and it would just be crazy to try and tell you about all these different kinds of stress. Basically, the thing that I talk about, I've narrowed them all down to 4 types. You've got mental stress, emotional stress, physical stress, and nutritional stress. Any type of stress, it's like a big funnel. It'll fit into one of those categories. So what we're going to look at is you're going to be able to assess the degree to which stress is affecting you. And it's through something that I'll call a physiological load, which just basically means that every stress that is put on you, it adds up basically in your body. We all have a certain threshold for stress. There's a book called Thresholds of the Mind, written by Bill Harris. He's the creator of Centerpoint Institute. And there's also a book called Adrenal Fatigue. And they talk specifically about your stress threshold. Right? And we all know that because we've all known people who have a very low threshold. The littlest thing will set them off in a tirade, and they'll throw a fit and be in a bad mood, and you look at them and go, God, every little thing just gets to them. And then you've got other people who you know, the world could come crashing down around them and they've got a smile on 24/7. You go, how is this person so happy all the time? And that's what it has to do with our stress threshold.
Threshold for?
Stress. All right? So every time we take on a stress, it summates in your body. Now, if you stay below the threshold, things are pretty much hunky-dory, right? Everything's okay. I'm doing pretty well. I don't have any real problems. But when you get over that threshold, there's a lot of problems that start to happen. Not just from an inability to lose weight, but things like depression, things like emotional problems, things like anger, right? All of these types of things start to happen. And there's no bells and whistles that go off telling you, hey, you're over your threshold, you gotta watch it. And the one thing that I've noticed with most people, particularly when we're working long hours or we've got businesses that we're trying to take care of, is most people are 24/7 operating beyond their capacity to manage stress. They're over threshold all the time. They don't know it. So we look at the typical day in the life of how stress might be affecting you and how it affects most people. Wake up in the morning, feeling wiped out, exhausted, like you wrestled a bear all night. Probably because you've either been tossing and turning, or you wake up around 1 to 3 in the morning and you can't get back to sleep because your mind won't shut off because you're thinking about everything you got to do at work the next day.
Yep.
So when you're feeling wiped out, what's the first thing you head for in the morning? A pot of coffee, wake you up. More stress, right? Because all that caffeine will drive your cortisol levels up to get you going, right? Yes. Then we go and I'll tell you, a couple of people at Taylor Farms admitted to me they were drinking 12 cups of coffee every day.
Wow.
12. You should have seen what happened when they tried to stop. Then we go off to work, and we've got a million things to do and deadlines at work. And again, there's more mental stress because we've got a million things going on. And then by the time that lunchtime rolls around, we haven't really eaten much all day. So we sit down, maybe if we get a chance, we gobble down the lunch really, really quick. Most of us don't even have time to really sit down and enjoy a meal. And do we make our lunches most of the time, or do they order in pizza in the office, or we go out maybe to a lunch meeting or a restaurant, put down a big meal of stuff that we shouldn't be eating, nutritional stress. Then we get toward the end of the day, getting off work, you're physically wiped out, you're emotionally and mentally taxed. And then, if you're one of those ones with a New Year's weight loss resolution that thinks, you know what, I got to get to that spinning class because I got to lose that 15 pounds this year. And then I go to the gym, but guess what? That workout that's supposed to be helping you, but when you're so stressed out and overwhelmed, you're adding more stress in the form of exercise now to a body and a mind that's already overwhelmed with stress. And then we get home, we're wiped out, sit down to a big meal again, more nutritional stress in most cases. And then we veg out, watch TV, and do it all over again. And this is at least 5 days a week for most people. Now, I don't know about you, but that just wipes me out thinking about that, talking about
Oh, yeah.
So, we're going to look real quick at the physiological load. So, again, 4 categories: mental, emotional, physical, and nutritional stress. And this is just kind of a way for you to assess where about you are. Okay? So the first one, we're going to talk about mental stress. Mental stress basically is what it says. It has to do with your thoughts. Those thoughts that go through your head on a regular basis. And these are the things that you want to keep in mind. Now, this is not an exhaustive list by any means, but this is enough to point you in the right direction and give you an idea of what's going on. It's not so much that if I have, you know, a bad dream one night that it's going to throw me into a tirade and mess me up. It's more of the things that are kind of chronically there with you. So any one of these: restless mind, decreased creativity, feeling rushed, poor memory problems, bad dreams, jumbled thoughts, and poor sleep. Okay, those are some of your mental stressors. So you might have one, you might have none, or you might have all of them. Emotional stress. Our thoughts influence our feelings, right? If I think a thought enough times and it's constantly there, it's going to produce a feeling within me. If I'm stressed all the time, I'm worried about what I've got to do at work, that deadline that I've got to meet, and I constantly am under the pressure of that stuff, how do you think that's going to make me feel? Exhausted, I'm going to feel maybe depressed, right? So our thoughts really drive our feelings. So emotional stress is the next one. So you're looking at the feelings, right? What do I typically have? Do I have nervousness on a regular basis, anxiety, fear, depression, sadness, mood swings, feeling overwhelmed? muscle and joint pain, and I'll explain that really because most of the time it's been estimated that about 85% of people with nagging aches and pains have no idea where they came from. There's no known origin. They just kind of show up out of the blue. And the fact of the matter is that, and now there's actually finally, scientific evidence is finally proving, when we've known this really all along, science couldn't prove it, but now they're proving it that our emotions are actually linked. They drive our physical body. So typically, by the time that we get that nagging shoulder or neck pain, that's because we've been holding so much emotional stress and tension for so long. That's the kind of the last stop, the physical manifestation of pain. So that's, if you're wondering what muscle and joint pain would have to do with emotions, that's what it is. So then we've got our thoughts drive our emotions, energy and motion, which then drives us, our physical body, like I just said. So in 1991, there was the study of HeartMath, the HeartMath Institute, and they're a organization that does research, and they were doing research on how the power of emotions that they had on the physical body. So what they did in 1991, they did a study, and they took these people and they extracted their own DNA, put their DNA in glass beakers, and shipped off the glass beakers, and then shipped off the people all the way into these other rooms. They really put them so far apart, and they hooked up all of the equipment and everything to study what would happen when they took these people and put them all the way in this room, and they showed them just different images on screen. And the purpose of it was the images they were showing the people were designed to invoke different emotional reactions from them, responses. So what happened was they found out that at the exact time, the exact same second that the emotional response of the people changed, so did their DNA. And their DNA was completely off in faraway land compared to where they were. So it was really interesting because the DNA actually changed its shape at the exact same time that they had a different emotional response. So this was one of the first studies that ever really linked and proved that our emotions actually can change our DNA, and basically your DNA is what your body's made out of. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you literally can think yourself or emotionalize yourself into sickness, into being overweight, into being in chronic pain, disease, all of that stuff. You literally can think it within yourself. It's very powerful. So we got physical stressors that have to do with activity. One of the biggest, most common recommendations for people dealing with stress is what? Go out and get some exercise, right? Go exercise, go exercise. Now, I'm not going to tell you that exercise is not important. It absolutely is. But I will ask you this, like I said before, if you are overwhelmed with stress, you're mentally, emotionally wiped out and exhausted all the time, and then you think that going into the gym and pounding out a 90-minute spinning class, or jumping on the weights for an hour, or going into group exercise and cardio kickboxing your way into fitness is going to help, that's going to add so much more stress to a body and a mind that's overwhelmed with stress. And think about your own computer at home. When you got too much stuff coming at it, more than it can deal with, what happens to your computer? Crash, right? Same thing with your body. So our physical stressors, not enough exercise, obviously. If you don't have enough exercise, that is an unhealthy stressor as much as too much exercise. But there are people, I see them in the gym, and I've worked with them over the years, that are in the gym 6 days a week, 7 days a week, I'm not kidding, 2 hours plus a day, and wondering why their bodies won't change. I'm working out every day for 2 hours. I'm barely eating any, and their diets are like this big, like they're just existing on salads all the time, and they wonder why their bodies won't change. And oh, by the way, I'm running 5 miles in my workout every day, and my knees hurting all the time. Why won't I change? Too much stress for too much exercise. Muscle and joint pain, improper breathing. That mostly has to do with, if you think about times when you're really stressed out or you're really angry, what happens to your breathing? Shallow? Yeah, right? It's not calm and breathing deep in your belly. I'm tense and I'm tight and I can't breathe well and I'm really, really shallow. And then what happens is your neck muscles start to overwork, right? You get stressed out. And sometimes it could be like what I call an inverted breathing pattern. It's just basically breathing the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. Okay? Decreased recovery. If you're doing any kind of exercise but you have a very poor tolerance for it, you're sore all the time, you're feeling beat up, right? That's a sign that it's too much of a stressor for you, or at least the amount or the type that you're doing. Decreased performance, what you're typically able to do. If I go into the gym and I can't match that, and I'm really struggling to match my previous level, too much stress. Also, rapid aging and chronic colds, allergies, flu-like symptoms. That's a big one as well. And just recently, before the Christmas holiday, I had one of my clients who works a lot of hours in sales and had a lot of stress on his plate, and I was trying to tell him about the degrees to which stress can affect him. This was one of the things I was saying that could happen, and within about a week, he came down with a massive, massive flu that kept him out for about 2 weeks. All right, food stressors. So basically, our nutritional stressor has to do with what you eat. Again though, we're so brainwashed by how many calories our foods contain, yet what we're not being told enough about is the foods that we eat, even so-called healthy foods, can result in poor digestion, inflammation, constipation. And if you think that it's going to matter with how many calories you eat at that point when you're not absorbing food right, your food's stuck in your digestive tract and you can't get it out. And at any given time, considering that most people have anywhere between 4 to 7 pounds of undigested food stuck in their digestive tract, leads to weight gain. Food does not energize you. If you eat and you're feeling tired and everything after, that's a sign that what you're eating, even if you're told it's healthy, well, it's not healthy for you. And we're all a bit different. If you crave caffeine and stimulants, sugary things, sweets, things like that, that's telling you something about what you're eating. It's not working for you. Crave sweets and hydration. American Council on Exercise statistically showed in their research that most people only put back 50 to 75% of the water that they lose on a daily basis. Which means they're running around, most people, in this constant state of dehydration. And when you're dehydrated, those cells of your body, we got about 67 to 72% of our bodies made up of water, depending on what research you read. And if your body's made up that much of water and you don't give it enough water, how effective is your body going to be at running metabolically, moving energy, burning fat? Not very effective. Right? So again, the more of those stressors you have, the higher your physiological load. Your total stress load is high. The higher your overall stress levels, the lower your tolerance will be for exercise. Right? So that is huge. So again, I'll tell you a little bit more about exercise, and I know I've got a lot to get through, and I'm trying to stay in here. Some other factors that lead to weight gain and chronic pain: an overwhelmed or overburdened liver. When you put things in there that your body's not meant to digest, your liver has a bazillion functions to do. One of them is detoxification. And when you're overwhelming it with things like processed type foods, or things like conventional dairy and gluten and sugars and things like that, artificial sweeteners, preservatives, additives, all this stuff, your liver gets backed up, and if it gets backed up, you're not going to be able to detoxify, you're not going to be able to burn fat effectively, you're going to get backed up, and it leads to weight gain. Backed up digestive system, I said, undigested food prevents it from being absorbed. You need energy in your body to keep your metabolism up. If it doesn't get enough energy, it's going to shut things down. Systemic inflammation, your body, your joints, right? Your digestive system, in the bloodstream, toxicity, and hormonal imbalance. So the bottom line to this, you guys, the quality of food is always more important than the quantity. It outweighs it every single time. And I'll explain that to you in just a bit. So step number 4, addressing injuries. Most of the people I've worked with, I've told you they couldn't lose weight because they couldn't work out the way that they needed to. They couldn't get back into doing things like recreational sports or running or golfing because they had injuries that were going on. So I had to figure out a way to address injuries. One of the most interesting things is that most people think that the reason why they're overweight or that they have injuries is because they're out of shape and they're old or whatever it is. It's for some reason when I get to be over 30, over 40, or over 50, the clouds part, and then, you know, the gods from above tell me, hey, now that you're this age, you can no longer run anymore. You can't play sports like you've done all your life. That's just it. You're done. So we think that we're just deconditioned, but interestingly enough, deconditioned, it doesn't just mean that I can't run up a flight of stairs without getting winded or something like that. The National Academy of Sports Medicine defines it right there. It's a state in which a person has muscle imbalances, decreased flexibility, and or a lack of core and joint stability. And all these conditions can greatly affect the ability of the human body to produce proper movement and eventually can lead to injury. Basically, we're in charge of this. It's not due to age. It's due to what we're eating, how we're taking care of ourselves. So we want to address the injuries and some of the most common causes of injuries. Here's one of the most common things. What's the correlation between the activities most people do? Whether we want to run, whether we play recreational type sports, whether we're working out in the garden or lifting things around the house. Does this type of movement on a machine resemble any of these movements?
No.
Not at all. So the carryover between how that's going to benefit my body to do activities I've got to do outside the gym, it's not. And this is where most people go, they spend all their time in the machines in the gym and they feel great, they feel all fit and everything, and then they go out and they lift up a laundry basket or something little and blow their back out. Whoa, what happened? I thought I was in great shape. Because the activity in the machines do not train the body to do what it needs to do. There's no correlation. So if you want to avoid aches and pains and injuries, you want to train your body in patterns like squatting, like pulling, like pushing and twisting, and lunging. Those are the environments that we exist in. Muscle imbalances. This is a case where you have certain muscles that become short and tight because they're overused, and other muscles become long and weak, and there's imbalances that start to happen. What it results in is overused repetitive stress. We heard how many people have repetitive stress injuries on the job nowadays. It's crazy, right? Increased joint stress, muscle stress, it alters the way you move. You have less freedom to move. You get restricted, and then you get pain and injuries. Then you can't work out anymore. Then you can't play sports anymore. Then you have to avoid all these different movements and activities, and then life is horrible. I'll show you real quick what this means. Let me have you guys stand up real quick. I'll show you one case of it. Just go ahead and stand up and assume a posture like you've been sitting in a desk all day. Really round your shoulders down and slump your back. And keep yourself in that posture and try and raise your arm, one arm as high as you can over your head. Okay, and just keep your arm there. Okay, now feel where it's at. I want you to keep your arm there and straighten yourself up. Chest up nice and tall, head up. Now lift your arm as far as it can go. Feel how much more you got? Right? And that's just a posture issue. That's one of the biggest imbalances most people have because they're on the job sitting at desks all day, in the computers. And then we become more immobile. And what's going to happen when I can't move my arm and I got to reach and do something overhead? Then I have to strain my shoulder or I strain my back. So all these muscle imbalances lead to these things. Again, it's not the age. It's not because we're just out of shape. These are things that we need to be working with. You guys can sit down.
Simon says.
Have people sprinting now. All right. So, again, another thing. Increased muscle tension. When we have imbalances, the short and tight muscles, they get chronically short and tight. And as little as a 5% increase in tension. Think of all the times that you catch yourself going around where your neck's tight, your fists are balling up, you're stressed out. Just a 5% increase in muscle tension can result in a 50 to 70% decrease in blood flow, which means that you have decreased oxygen and nutrients to those muscles, decreased waste removal. Basically, your muscles become more acidic. You produce higher amounts of cortisol, and it starts to just shred your muscles and joints up. It tears your body up. All that just from tension. Again, it's not just old age. It's not old age. So how to injury-proof your body. Some of the stuff I went through. Reducing stress. So what I talked about, there's stressors that you can control to help keep yourself within your threshold. Mental, emotional, physical, and nutritional, right there. We can control our thoughts. We can control how we react to the events and situations that go on in our life. It's not the events that make us do anything, it's our reaction to them. Physical stressors, we can control the activity, if we need more, if we need less, what type we need, and we can control what we put into our bodies. We address muscle imbalances. We sleep better. That's one of the things a lot of people have trouble is sleeping well. Hydrate better. Eliminate toxins, additives, preservatives, processed foods, refined foods. What I call a crap diet, meaning completely refined, artificial, and or processed foods. Eliminate the toxins. And strength training versus cardio. I'm going to get into that because there's this big overuse of doing cardio, thinking that that's what we need to get fit nowadays. Leaky gut syndrome. And anybody heard of this?
Leaky Gut Syndrome.
Nasty sounding, and it's a nasty thing too. This is what they don't tell you in your diet books. This is what they don't tell you at the meetings. They keep talking about the calories. What they don't tell you is that when you're eating food your body's not meant to digest, it creates an inflammatory response because it weakens the wall of your digestive tract. What it does is it takes the cells that line your digestive system and it weakens them. So undigested food particles make their way into your bloodstream, where eventually, if it keeps happening, they'll make their way into the tissues of your nerves, your muscles, and your joints. And they'll cause anything from inflammation to chronic pain to weight gain. They'll create things like food allergies because then they're like invaders in your body, and your body has to send out antibodies to neutralize them. And when they're already embedded in your muscles and joints and nerve tissue, guess what? Your body stops producing the antibodies. It can't get it. So your body sends out these killer enzymes to go get them. And the killer enzymes will get them, but it's like taking a big old bazooka and trying to blow away a little breadcrumb on the floor. I'm going to destroy that whole floor, everything around the breadcrumb. And that's what happens to your joints and your muscles. Visceral autonomic inhibition. This basically has to do with what we feel sometimes as pain. Sometimes we feel something like back pain and we assume that, guess what, I got a problem with my back. So we take pills and medications or get cortisone shots to treat the back. But the thing that we're not being told is, a lot of times, in most cases with people, that's just a symptom. It's not the cause of the problem. A lot of the times the cause of the problem has to do with the other things that's linked up to this pain response. So we share our organs and our muscles and our joints share nerve fibers. So what this means is that when you get a response of pain, your brain recognizes it, but your brain doesn't know what's in trouble. Is it the joint, is it the organ, or is it the muscle? Because they're all connected to the same nerve fibers. So your brain's got a decision to make. Well, I need to heal something up here because something's wrong somewhere in the body. And when your body has a choice of something to shut down, well, you can live without a muscle, but you can't live without a liver, you can't live without your digestive system, you can't live without things like your kidneys. So your brain will send the signal to shut down the muscles so that the organs can heal. And why it shuts down the muscles, like if you have back pain, that was just due to because you're eating all of these processed foods and it's inflaming your gut. Not to mention your pants are getting tighter, but your back's hurting and you think that you need to treat the back. But what starts to happen is your brain sends a signal, shut down the stomach muscles so that the inflammation, we can heal this stuff up. So what happens is then you think, well, my pants are so tight, my stomach's bulging out, I think I need to go to the gym and bang out 1,000 crunches today and do some sit-ups to get trim. But what happens is my stomach muscles don't function right because it's your body's way of telling you, slow down so I can get you to heal. And that's what it does. So that's why people will do thousands of sit-ups and crunches and still not have the six-pack abs that they want. They have back pain and they're trying to treat the back, and the problem has to do a lot with what they're eating. And this is just one thing, but something we have to look at again. Address the causes, not the symptoms. So, final word on that. Weight gain, nagging injuries, and chronic pain are not caused by old age. The thing that plays the big role, remember the three things: toxins, hormonal, and muscle imbalances. Those are the primary causes. You can treat a symptom all you want, but it'll keep coming back until you get rid of what's causing it. Do you need to work out or work in? So this is what I talked about. What do I do if my stress levels are so high? And you told me that I shouldn't be then working out because it's going to stress me out. Right? It's going to stress my body out. Well, if we always think about working out, and that's what most of us think, we think that we need to go work out. But what working out is called working out because we're taking energy and we're working it out of our body. We're just spending energy. But sometimes, especially when our stress levels are really high, what we need to do is spend time working in. Instead of doing exercise and exhausting ourselves, we need to find ways that we can move and pull more energy into our body than we're expending. So how do we do it? Well, we can do any low-level activity. Anything that's low-level, such as walking, such as maybe a really, really easy yoga class, such as sitting down in a quiet space and doing deep breathing. 10 seconds breathing into your belly, 10 seconds breathing out. Doing things like stretching, Tai Chi if you have to. Right? Those are all forms of movement that will actually bring more energy into you than you will spend. So again, the truth about cardio. I bring this up because when it comes to weight loss, if you go to any gym and you look at the most popular, most crowded area, it's the cardio by far. And again, you look at the people, I call them cardioholics, not to be mean, but because in every gym I've ever seen, you'll at least be able to count a few on one hand, and you've seen them all the times because every time you're there, they're there. And you wonder, after a while, does this person ever have a home, or do they live here because they're here all the time? And they're there pumping out the workout on the treadmill or on the elliptical or doing the kickbox class, but yet, how much of their body's changed in the last 3 months, 6 months, the last year? Like, none. You won't notice them really changing. The problem with cardio is not that you should never, ever, ever do it, but it's so overly used because people think, well, it's going to burn all these calories and help me lose weight. But again, from everything that I've told you so far, it's really not the calories, it's more about the hormonal interaction. And again, your hormones dictate what happens to the body. So what cardio does is this catabolic activity, which basically catabolic means breaking down. Right? It's energy efficient, which means that in the first maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so that you do it, you'll feel better. You might get in a little better shape. You might even burn a little bit of fat. But what happens then after that, you get stuck. And no matter how much you do, it just seems like, God, I can't maintain the results I have, or I'm not getting any more results from it. Because your body gets so efficient because you're doing the same thing over and over, using the same muscles in the same way. So it's just like a car getting very efficient on using less gas per mile. Same thing, you expend less energy because your body adapts to it. So then what starts to happen, because you use the same muscles over and over, the same pattern, you get those muscle imbalances I talked about, which leads to injuries and chronic pain. The other thing from a hormonal standpoint is that when you're doing all that cardio, your body's producing cortisol again. And it's a very high level of cortisol that your body will produce the more cardio that you do. And remember, with cortisol, it actually programs your body to store fat, and it suppresses your growth hormone and testosterone, so it actually prevents you in the long run from being able to lose fat. The very thing you're being told to do. So again, when you add stress to a system that's already stressed out, results in breakdown. Step 5, never ever diet. We all know this, right? We've all heard this. I know not to diet, but yet look at how many diet books line the shelves of Barnes & Noble out there. Look at them online, how many books you've got. You've got thousands and thousands of them. Dieting doesn't always mean I'm starving myself. Low-carb diets, low-fat diets, high-protein diets, all-organic diets, liquid diets, paleo diets, right? There's a million of them out there. The bottom line is that when you restrict, they all revolve around one thing: restricting calories and or nutrients. So here's what happens. When you pull calories out, if I just reduce my calories and pull them out, I'm also reducing the amount of nutrients that I give my body. If I do a little bit of it, it's not too big of a deal. But if I make it a big thing like most people do, cut out a ton of carbs, cut out a ton of fat, or cut out a ton of calories, it's stressful to my body because now I'm in a big nutrient deficit. And my body recognizes this and it gets stressful. So then what my body does when it's stressed out, it's losing more energy than it's getting back in. And my body doesn't know I'm trying to get six-pack abs and look nice and good on the beach in the summertime. It thinks that I'm starving. So it's going to do all it can to slow every bit of energy production down to sustain life. This feels like a threat to our body's survival. Our body perceives it as a threat. And a built-in mechanism that we have is survive. So your body will start to suppress thyroid, because your thyroid's your metabolism. You'll start to break down muscle tissue to slow your metabolism down. You'll get increased levels of cortisol. When you get stressed out, your body produces cortisol. We already talked about what that does and what that does to your fat-burning hormones. So remember, in the end, it's the hormones that decide how you look, feel, and perform. It's not the calories. So the truth about weight gain and calories, getting close to the end. I wrote about this in my book. And I'm just highlighting a little bit of the real important points, but I talk in the book about 7 flaws of calorie reduction and the 7 reasons why calorie counting does not work. Your calorie needs can and do change depending on a million different factors, but we have things like our activity level. If I go climb a mountain and take a big hike for 2 hours on Sunday, and Monday morning I'm laid up on the couch just watching TV, do you think that on that Sunday I'd have more of a demand for more calories in my body, more energy because of the activity? Right? our hydration level, our hormones, the balance of them, my digestion, absorption, and elimination. If I'm backed up, that really influences how many calories I need. My stress level, how much muscle I have, how much fat I have. That all changes all the time. So for you to really know, anyone who tells you you need this amount of calories a day to lose weight or to maintain your current weight or whatever they're trying to tell you, they cannot possibly know how many calories you need no matter what formula they use, because they don't know this. The only way you would ever know that is to be hooked up and live your life in a laboratory setting with bells and whistles and computers hooked up to you and be there every day of your life, every minute. You can't know because your needs change. Which you're not being told as well. We're all being told about calories in versus calories out. If I burn more calories than I eat, that's the secret to weight loss. Yet it doesn't work all across the board. And what they're not telling you is that dietitians and doctors and nutritionists are contradicting themselves left and right. They'll tell you how important calories are, yet they'll also tell you that we have good carbs and bad carbs, healthy fats and unhealthy fats. So what they're not telling you is the carbohydrates, whether they're good or bad, they still only have the same amount of calories, 4 per gram. Every gram of fat that you eat, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, has 9 calories per gram. But we do know, and all the research tells us too, that if we eat the majority of our diet, if I eat 2,000 calories every day, and I eat it all from potato chips and burgers and fries and pizza and ice cream and soda, how am I going to look versus if I eat those same amount of calories in the form of organic fruits, vegetables, I have lean meats, poultry, maybe some eggs? I'm going to look and feel a lot different from that, am I not? Regardless of the calories I eat. And they contradict themselves. They don't tell you that. It's all the same. But all calories are not equal. Right? It's the quality of the food, not the quantity. The number of calories consumed does not mean that you automatically absorb it. So if I eat 2,000 calories, depending on what kind of food it is, what source it's from, what my body needs, it doesn't mean that I'm absorbing it. I'm just putting it in. So if I eat 2,000 calories, maybe I'm only absorbing and using 1,000. Maybe I'm using 1,800. Maybe I am using 2,000. How do you know? You don't. There's no way to know it. Can't be the calories. Some quick research shows that most people grossly underestimate how many calories they eat in a day anyway. And when they're reading labels and everything, the studies have shown it. So again, there's no way that you're really tracking calories accurately. Nutrition labels, when you go to a restaurant, you order your favorite meal. And if it's 500 calories or whatever, you order that meal 10 times, you're not going to get exactly 500 calories 10 times. It's an estimate. You might get 400, 600, 550, whatever. You can't accurately count them. Reducing your calories reduces nutrients, as we talked about, and the bigger the calorie deficit, the bigger the nutrient deficit, equals more stress on the body, and over the long term, slows your metabolism down, you store fat. Number 6, periodize your exercise program. Basically, periodization is a concept that was developed for athletes to keep them so that they can make progress. So when they periodize, they have certain phases. They structure their program so that it's always changing. It's accomplishing a goal, though, week to week, month to month, and year to year, while minimizing their chance for injuries. We need to do the same thing. We don't have to train like athletes, but we certainly need to vary up our programs, right? Most of us are doing the same thing day in, day out. The final thing I'm going to talk about, this is humongous, because I've studied this left and right, and the one thing I found is the people who have very high levels of success, whether it's been my clients who have achieved their goals and gone on to do things that they never thought that they'd be doing in their life again, or you look at people like celebrities, like actors and actresses, movie stars, music singers, those ones who have really made it to the top, they share something in common. The reason why they achieve those goals. And I get a lot of people who, when they meet me, they say, hey, I ask them, how can I help you? And they tell me, oh, I want to lose weight and everything. And I start asking about, well, there's solutions out there. What have you tried and why is it not working? Well, one of the things they tell me is that I'm just not motivated. I don't know how to motivate myself. I can't keep myself accountable. I think I'm just lazy. I think I need you to motivate me. So what I found is that the secret to motivation, it doesn't lie in anything outside of ourselves. We're not lazy. We're not unmotivated. The reason why has to do with something I've identified as knowing your 4 W's. So if you know these 4 W's, you will have an unstoppable source of motivation within you to guide you to achieve everything you want this year. If you don't know 1 or more of these, you can have the best diet and exercise program on the planet and it won't amount to a hill of beans because you still won't achieve your goals. So, number 1, know what you want. Do you know what you want? I can't tell you how many times I ask people, what is your goal? Well, I want to lose weight. I want to tone up. I want to feel better. I want to get in shape. Great. What does that mean? What does it look like when you've lost weight? Paint a picture of how your life's going to be different for me. I don't know. What does it look like when you're toned up? Well, I just look better. I don't know. Specifically, what is it? They don't know. Most people don't have an idea beyond just chasing the number. I want the number on the scale, or I just want to feel better, but they don't really know specifically. And I'll tell you, if you don't have a specific target, you're not going to hit it. You can't. So you have to know specifically what you want. Our minds work best in numbers, in dates, in like measurements, things that are really specific. How much weight do you want to lose? By when? How many clothes sizes do you want to drop? How much body fat do you want to be down? What do you want to fit into? What does life look like for you? What activities are you doing when you've achieved your goal? When you have that down, you can see how specific that is. And when you get it down to that, and it really connects with you, you start to feel a sense of excitement that's there, because now it starts to become real. So you have to know exactly what it is that you want. Like that kid. You think he knows what he wants? That kitty? He wants to get that cat. Your second one is knowing your why. Your reason why is humongous. It's one thing to know what you want, but if you don't know why you want it, you'll never hit it. And this is another thing with most people. You have to have a reason why that connects so strongly with you that it'll fuel you, because guess what? The number 1 excuse people have for not sticking with a diet and exercise program: I don't have time. My life is busy. I have too much work to do. I have family and relatives. I have vacation. There's all these reasons. So life is always going to get in the way. It's never going to settle down and be perfect for you. It's always going to have things that get in the way. But when you've got a big enough reason why you want something, you will move mountains to get it no matter what. And I tell them, and I don't like to be harsh with it, but I say it anyways. You tell me you don't have time to exercise. You tell me you don't have time to eat right. Yet, if you went to your doctor and your doctor told you you were going to die in 30 days unless you found 20 minutes every single day to exercise and you cleaned up the crap out of your diet, you telling me that you wouldn't find a way? You would. Because your reason why you want it would be so much bigger, right? So you have to know your reason why. Okay, the next one is know your what. What will you need to do to achieve your goal? So you know what you want, you know why. Now, what do you have to do to get there? So this is where you really just create a list of everything you can think of, everything in your mind you can think of that you need to do. Because if you fail a plan, you might as well plan it to fail. And then finally, willing. That's your final W. Are you willing? So when you look at everything that you wrote down that you need to do, your what list, now you have to assess for yourself, what am I willing to do to achieve the goal? So you've got to look at everything on that list and ask yourself with brutal honesty, am I 100% committed to doing that? And do that for each item you list. And in the end, you go over each item, and I'll tell you, if you got 10 items listed, and I have 4 things that I say, without a doubt, 100% I'll do them. But I have 6 that I'm, probably not. What are the odds of me achieving my goal? Not too good, right? So you have to be able to really get as many yeses down as you possibly can. And if you don't have to, but then you have to understand that you have to change the goal then. Because your likelihood of getting there isn't matching what you need to do to get there. And finally, the last thing, the truth about motivation, again, looking for something outside of yourself, it'll never work. If we rely on people and places and things to motivate us, well, when they're not there anymore, when our workout partner doesn't show up, what happens to our motivation? I'm going to stay in bed this morning. I don't want to do that. Right? If you're not motivated, it's not because you're lazy. is because you just haven't given yourself a reason. You don't know maybe what you want, you don't know why you want it, you just haven't connected with it. Right? So you find that big enough reason, and you'll have all the motivation that you need. Okay, the last thing before we go, I am almost done here, and I know a lot of you are happy about that. I've got a free 14-day metabolic recharge program. This is not a sales pitch. This is absolutely what it says it is. I'm building a team of 8 people that I'm looking for people who are serious about achieving their goals this year. This is not a quick fix type program, so this is not a do this for 14 days and lose 1 million pounds and then you'll never be able to maintain it. What this is, I'm looking for 8 very serious people who have very specific goals that they will work very hard to achieve. And I'm going to give those 8 people everything I give my clients. From a comprehensive functional performance assessment, I'm going to do all the assessments that you need. I'm going to give you all the exercise program that you need. I'm going to work with you on it. I'm going to give you the exact nutrition plan you need and the lifestyle components that you need to achieve the goal that you want. All right, so it is a complete program. So the only cost that I'm asking, I'm not asking you to pay me anything for it. What I am asking though is to make a donation in the amount of your choice to prostate cancer research. That's what I'm going to be dedicating it to. My father-in-law last year got diagnosed with prostate cancer. He knows like nothing about it. He doesn't know where to get resources or information. And so where I'm donating it is to an organization that provides that. They provide education and resources to men and their families with prostate cancer. I'm asking for before and after testimonials. So yeah. And then you attend, it should say 2 to 3 workouts per week, so it depends on what your schedule looks like. I'll work with you 3 times a week max, at least 2, okay? And if this isn't you, if it's somebody that you know, that you think would be a good fit for this, that could really use it, then you know, I'd love the chance to help them out and work with them. You're going to have to complete about 3 homework sessions per week, so they're very doable, very short, just kind of sessions that you do on your own. I'll show you how to do them. I have video tutorials, I have downloadable worksheets, online membership area, and everything you need to access all the tools so you can't mess it up, you can't do it wrong. You'll always have it there, and I'm there to support you, whether it's by phone, by email, or in person as well as you go through. All right, and complete compliance to nutrition and lifestyle protocol, and obviously the exercise protocol. That's all I'm asking for 14 days. So it's a way to get a good jump start on your new year. After you're done with the program, there's nothing that I'm keeping from you, there's nothing that I'm taking, there's nothing that you won't know. You use that stuff and you can use it for the rest of the year. You can use it as long as you want to achieve the goals that you have. Alright, I built this so that it's usable. It's not a 90-day and then you don't know what to do or you can't maintain it. I have a deadline on the application, 1 week from today, Monday, January 14th, that's it. So whether I have 0, whether I have 3, or whether I have all 8, that's the deadline I've got. And I have a sheet I'll pass around real quick here if it's you, just a name and an email that I can contact you, and all I'm going to do, I'm not going to spam you, I'm just going to send you the information and the details on it if you're interested. And again, if it's someone that you know, down on the bottom, yatesperformancetraining.com, they can contact me on my website, right there. And the last thing is you can join I have a free online community as well at yatesperformancetraining.ning.com. It is an absolute free, nothing to buy, online community where I kind of work on educating and helping people out and provide a lot of information on how to achieve your fat loss, fitness, and performance goals. And now I'm out of slides, which means I'm done talking and I went way over my time. I apologize. But I'll turn it over to you guys. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And if not, I'm done babbling.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Please come see Kevin afterwards.